So in the first video, we demonstrated how to just run the example project after you install Modelkit. And now I'm going to back up a little bit and just kind of talk through what the Modelkit framework is and how it operates at a higher level, and then we'll go into and actually creating a model using the same geometry, the example project geometry, but just writing that root file from scratch. And first I'm just going to talk through a short version of this presentation that Peter Ellis, who's the founder and president of Big Ladder Software. Big Ladder Software is the software company that developed the Modelkit framework and hosts Modelkit, as well as numerous other Energy Plus tools on their website. Peter gave this presentation, or a longer version of this presentation, at the ASHRAE Energy Modeling Conference in Atlanta in 2015. So the idea here with the Modelkit framework is when we're making energy models, there's all these parameters that go into energy models. There's a solar heat gain coefficient for windows, U values for windows and for walls, and all components of the envelope. There's fan efficiencies, there's cooling efficiencies, chiller COPs, and heating efficiencies. And we want to be able to easily change all these parameters and create new models with these parameters changed in a systematic way so that we can make many iterations of the same models. An example of a parametric problem, if we have two building geometries, for example, but we want to model those two buildings over 15 different climate zones in the United States, and we also want to evaluate 14 different design alternatives. We have a efficient lighting alternative, better envelope, HVAC efficiencies, and so forth. So that comes out to 420 different models that we would have to create. So it makes sense to do this in a systematic, programmatic way that we don't have to manually change the inputs every time. So if we zoom out on a Energy Plus IDF file, and you can see that there's certain patterns that repeat themselves. Like highlighted here is the lighting object for each zone. And that's really just the same thing, just repeated over and over again. And then after that, maybe we have the HVAC objects, and we have various objects that repeat themselves. And the idea here is that we can just make a template for one of those objects and vary the parameters in those templates, and then arrange them in pieces, kind of like if you've ever used a EP macro file. You might have an IMF file for your lighting, your people, your equipment, your HVAC, and then you can just insert all those pieces to create an Energy Plus file. And this is similar to how Modelkit works as well, except instead of just the raw text files, there are actually these templates that we can vary the parameters within. So if we take a look at one of these templates, let's look at just a simple lighting object. We have all the different fields that describe the lights in a zone, and most of this text is going to be the same for every zone, except obviously we want to change the zone name and the name of the lighting objects, maybe the watts per area, lighting power density. So the idea is we have this template and we can just feed in those parameters that are changing. So this is the idea of embedded Ruby that's used in web applications, and we can leverage that to vary the parameters within this lighting template. So if we take a look at this lighting template, we can use this embedded Ruby. It's also called Ruby on Rails. We have a zone field and we have an LPD field, and then we can specify that the zone name and the LPD, and it'll just insert it into that template. And we want to do this for every zone. We can also do some math in there. So instead of just hard coding an LPD as a specific number, we can do some multiplication and addition to arrive at that final LPD value. We can even do some conditional statements, some if else. We can have a conditional variable called occupancy controls, and if we set occupancy controls equal to yes, or maybe we would have that be a Boolean like true or false, we can write a zone occupancy schedule, or else just write the zone lighting schedule, and then we'd get the resulting text object which Energy Plus can read. If we set awk controls equal to no, then we get a different resulting object. We can do loops. So if we have list of zones, we can say for zone in zones, and it would substitute the zone name in. Or we could have an array which has the zone names in one field, and then in the second field we could have the LPD associated with that zone. So the idea is that we have these templates. You can imagine if you're using this framework a lot, you have this big library of templates. Maybe you have a 90.1 set of templates or a Title 24 set of templates, and when you install Modelkit, it comes with a set of templates, and those can obviously be modified. You can even make a set of templates that isn't for Energy Plus. You could make California Building Energy Code Compliance software, CBEC COM or CBEC Res set of templates that produces the text objects that that particular software requires. So it's very flexible in this approach. Now, to create a model, we have several different templates, each with their own parameters that are being fed into those templates. And each of the templates has default parameters. Some of the parameters do not have defaults, such as a zone name. That would be a required parameter that we would have to feed into the lighting template. Whereas the envelope template, or it's actually called constructions.imf, the one that comes with Modelkit, there's actually no parameters that do not have defaults, so you don't have to feed in any parameters to that template, for example. And the idea is we have this root file where we list all of the templates that we want to insert to create this model. So we'll say insert the envelope template, and then maybe we're feeding it some parameters that are different from the default parameters. And then we want to insert the lighting template, the HVAC template, and so forth. And we can create an entire model just using the root file. So we have our library of templates that we're pulling from, and then the root file is just kind of like a little Ruby script that says first insert this template, and in that template change these parameters, or maybe not change those parameters. Maybe just insert that template and just leave everything default, and then insert this other template after that, and now insert the HVAC template, and so forth. And we can create an entire energy model just using the root file, and that's the file that's called root.pxt in the example project. So to add another layer of complexity and to enable this parameterization of creating many different versions of the same model, we have our root file, but then we can also have cases. And in the example project, it comes with these cases. There's one called baseline.pxv, one that's called North Axis, Windows Better, and Windows Best. And these were created by default in the first video when we just composed all the models and then we ran them all. So we have these 4 cases that were created automatically. So we have our root file, which has these default parameters for the R value, lighting power density, HVAC type, chiller COP. But then we have these case files or parameter files that are feeding in parameters to overwrite those defaults. So for example, we have this case file and it's changing this VAV system type to VRF, and it changed the COP from 3.67 to 4.15. And so you can have any number of parameter files, and again, this is in the cases folder within the Modelkit folder structure. And each of these case files is used to feed in parameters to override the default parameters in the root file. So you can see how these case files can be used to just create a number of different versions of the same model with just different parameters that are overriding the defaults. And then those get passed from the root file into the individual templates to create the Energy Plus objects. and then those objects get combined to create an energy plus energy model. So in summary, we use templates and scripting as a flexible way to create energy models, and they're simulation engine neutral. You just have to have a template library that uses the same syntax as whatever energy simulation engine you're trying to use. The templates that come with the Modelkit installation are all for Energy Plus, and it has all the capabilities of the particular simulation engine you're using, but it has the flexibility of creating these models in a parametric way so that you can create many different versions of the model very quickly. So now that you have that sort of high-level overview, let's take a look at the example project again, and we'll actually write one of these root files and some case files or parameter files from scratch.